My brothers, my brothers, my brothers, it is your boy Joseph Roberts here, and I am inviting you to join me at the Men Hurt 2 conference being held here in Dallas on July 19th, 2025. We got an awesome lineup of speakers. There's going to be food, there's going to be music, there's going to be door prizes, just a host of activities that are going on exclusively designed and set up just for the men. We don't oftentimes have these safe spaces for us to chop it up and fellowship with one another. But on that day, July 19th here in Dallas, we are going to be doing just that. And to any ladies that are tuning in right now to this video, if you got some special men in your life, whether it's your husband, your son, your brother, your nephew, your grandson, I don't care who he is. If you know that he needs to be a part of something like this, get him registered too. Simply go to Eventbrite today to get yourself registered and get your ticket. Give somebody a ticket. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon with your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. And I'm so happy that you are tuning in with us tonight. Tonight we have a special guest, Miss Tanicia. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. Very happy to have you here. We have had the luxury of being able to be at several events and collaborate together several times. She's a fellow believer, woman in Christ, and just an amazing woman, a powerful testimony. We have really had some really good moments. And she's also the owner of Remnant Media Services. She's an author herself, publisher. The list just goes on. So tonight we are going to be talking about all things Tanicia. And we're going to see what she's got going on. I'm loving this. I definitely want to find out more about this femininity movement. I've been seeing the conferences and different things that you've got going on. So hopefully we will dig into all of that tonight. Make sure that you go ahead and like, tag, share. Go ahead and get your popcorn, whatever you need, so you can not have to get up in the middle of this interview, okay? Whenever you see this interview, it's still going to be relevant. So make sure that you share it with somebody, okay? So I know who you are, but one of the first questions that I always ask all my guests is, please tell us who you are. So can you please tell the viewers? Tanicia.
That's I feel like it's a big question, but I'll condense it. So as you stated, I'm the owner of Remnant Media Services, where I actually work with organizations, at this point, as far as nonprofits, helping them with storytelling, brand messaging, getting their word out, and just really like helping them with that visibility. I'm also a publisher, publishing consultant, and then I've authored so far about 8 books. So I have a love for all things writing, creative writing, traveling, just so many, a myriad of things. And then along with that, of course, I have a love for technology. So I've been in the IT industry a little bit over 17 years, and it has definitely been rewarding and very beneficial. So.
Yes. That is amazing. I think I'm trying to remember when I had that event not too long ago. I found it was my first time hearing you talk about your books, and just hearing, and you'll have to tell me the title of your book, but the book in which you talk about relating it to IT. I was really just taken aback and in awe, like, wow. Tell us, what is the name of the book?
Look, I'm looking now because I always keep them by me, quite a few, but the name of the book is God's Celestial Network, and it essentially talks about how our human body is like a computer. And of course, the components of a computer is the hardware, the software, right? And then the memory. And so the book details how we are the first computers. We hear about people saying that they've created all these different computers and AI and all these different, mediums, right? Or platforms that's being created through technology. But God's original design was us, and, how we are that original computer. He created us to be able to create because he's a creator. He created us to be able to download, right, at such a high speed when we're connected to him. So it really goes back to John chapter 15, where it talks about, of course, Jesus is divine. And if you abide in him, then, of course, you can do all things. And so God's Celestial Network is very important. I feel like in this time, especially when we see a lot of technology, we see AI on the rise, we see, Chat GPT, Gemini, whatever, someone's platform of choice. I thought about it recently is that AI means artificial intelligence, but we are the original intelligence because it comes from
like
God.
that.
Yeah. So, God's Celestial Network, I definitely recommend it because it just shows also how our mind can be hacked, and if you ever had a device that's been hacked, your cell phone, your computer, anything like that, receiving the wrong words, the wrong connections, just that wrong download could actually cause you to be hacked, and you'll be slowed down, you'll be sluggish, non-productive. So the book actually covers all of those items.
I love the way you were relating that. I remember just hearing you talk about it, and literally even now, just visualizing it as you're talking about it, breaking it down like that. And it's so true. We really have to be careful, what we let into our eyes and our ears, because ultimately it gets into our, our system, but what is it called on the computer?
Like your
control or whatever.
The CPU. Yeah. See,
I'm trying.
You got it. Yeah, so it's like anything get in there, right? It's going to infect it, affect it, and Yeah.
So I know that your journey as an author is deeply rooted in faith and purpose. I mean, most of your writings are kind of similar to like mine in the sense that they're ministry. What inspired you to write? First of all, kind of tell us what inspired you to write. And then the second part of that is, how does it tie into your Christian faith and the influence in your books?
That's really good. So I've always been inspired to write since I was younger. It was almost like a release, you have a diary, passing notes in class, right? And so that was really my form of, I feel like, more communication, through writing. So it actually stuck with me. And of course, through high school news, I'm supposed to be on the newspaper team. I left that early. So all these different opportunities that presented me, with me, when it came to writing, and, it just always stuck with me, but it actually grew, I would say, after I became born again, in 2013. And for a little bit, I actually put the pen down. I wasn't writing as much because, I was what I thought was enjoying life, right? And so living a life of sin, and, I just didn't have a thought for writing, not in that way. I was still writing at my jobs, like doing technical writing, for IT documents, but not anything faith-based. And that happened after I got saved. It's like that desire came back in me. Something just, re-sparked. And I began to pray about it to see, how do I start this journey of writing? Where do I start? And, God began to show me about blogging. So I started my blog in 2016, I want to say, and it's called manifestedsons.blog. And on there, it's just so many blogs about deliverance. As you stated earlier, it's all faith-based, and there's just so much rich information on there. And that's where I initially started. And then from there, I started doing the books.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So do you still have the blog going? I've never asked you that. Do you still have the blog?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I still have it going. So I just wrote a recent blog. I want to say about 2 weeks ago. And then I have a few more that are actually queued up on my phone. I have to go through it and format it. So yeah, I'm always definitely updating it.
Okay. Okay. I like to ask authors, writers, what is your style? Like for me, I usually do most of my writing at night. That's like when I find time to just kind of unwind. And, I get the ideas like early morning, but I usually actually sit down long enough to, put it together in the late night. And, that's kind of my routine. Now, what is your writing routine? What does it look like?
So mine is kind of the same. Like you said, I do write a lot in my journal. So I have a lot of these. I don't have any over here. Well, let me see if I have some on my desk since I'm in my office, but I have quite a few like composition notebook journals. And so a lot of times early morning, if I'm reading my word, right, and then there's notes that I need to write down or prayer points, it normally ends up in here. But then I realized that I wrote 1, 2, 3 pages, right, off of one verse of scripture, just, as the Lord began to reveal it to me. And from there, if it's something that I know is inspiration, for a blog or for a book, then I actually transition it over to my phone and I began to write it on my phone. And my favorite tool of choice is 2 tools. I like my Samsung Notes because I'm an Android user, and then I love Google Docs because it's just a good collaboration tool.
Yeah, I use both of those. My newest thing is talking into my computer. I found out that I can do voice typing, and ever since I found that out, I sit here and talk to my computer while it types like I'm in a real therapy session.
Really? So do you do this in like Microsoft Word or Google Docs? Like you?
I don't even know how it got on the computer. I don't know.
Good.
But if I just right click, it says voice typing. And once I discovered that, I literally just sit here and talk and it types, and then I just have to pretty much go back and edit and add, But I literally, my sessions that I'm talking about, I'm literally sitting here talking and it's typing everything as I talk. So I love it. I love it. I don't know if it came this way or what. I just happened to come upon it one day.
So that's good. That's a blessing, because it's like, it seems like it'll help you get it out faster, whatever you're writing.
Yeah. I know before I actually started writing, one of the things that kind of was a handicap for me, or so I thought was going to be a handicap, let me say that, was I thought I'm going to have to just be typing all the time. And you said something that was my first tool. My first tool was Samsung Notes. That's what I started with. And I started recording myself because it does talk text as well. And so I started recording myself. Then I emailed all of it to myself. So for people who are like, I want to write, but I don't want, you can use Samsung Notes because I had Android and that's how I started out. And I would talk and it types everything as you talk. And then you just email it to yourself and copy and paste and build your, so just thought I'd share that free nugget with somebody that's watching.
That's for me. I like that nugget.
Yeah, there's somebody that's like, well, I don't have time to be doing that. Yes, you do.
You do. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Yeah.
When you have creative minds like we do, you're constantly thinking, and it's really important to like put it down or speak it or something so we don't forget. Because if you're anything like me, I just be.
Yeah, I am. And it's like, I was just talking to my friend, I think yesterday, and I was telling her, I'm like, I have, like this, I think this is the blog and this is a book. And she was like, you have a lot of, like things.
Ideas.
Yeah.
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 We learn to get to the point where we write it all down and check it off the list, add it to appointed time, right? It's never ending. Let me ask you this. What was childhood like for you? I know that we're going to dig deeper into the books and the publishing and everything, but kind of tell us about you, the woman. What was it like? And, I think you are such a beautiful woman. And when I look at you and I look at your kids, I always think you, and don't take this the wrong way, I always think you look so youthful. You look so youthful. And I'm sure you hear that all the time.
I do. Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes I'm still thinking, you are just this little young girl because you look so youthful.
Hmm.
But tell us about what was childhood like.
It was it was good. So I will say, yeah, with the youthful, right? I've heard that a
Yeah.
lot. And now in August I'll be 40 and I'm just like yeah,
Okay.
I feel like I'm
Okay.
starting to feel it
Yeah.
a lot. But childhood, it was very good. I grew up a little bit for half of my time in the Dallas area.
Okay.
And with my mother, she had me at 15 years old. So, and we're still very close, of course, right to this
Yeah.
day. She's in her,
Yeah.
early 50s. So, we grew up in that area, and myself, I was the oldest, and then I had three younger siblings. So it was always a life of like, for me, always creative. You have these creative juices flowing. You may have not been able to do it at a particular time, right? And so just living through life. One thing I can say for me that I noticed that I probably dealt with a lot, growing up was trying to not figure out what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to work with technology. I always wanted
Okay.
to do something with writing. But
Okay.
there was always like a void, I would say like personally for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this recently that ever since I was younger, up until I, of course, maybe about 18, my parents, my mom and my stepdad, at the time, they always dealt with like, she wants to have a boyfriend. She wants to, be dating or something like that. So there was always like this void. And that's something that God had to truly, heal in me after I got saved. And
Yeah.
so that took me through a lot of triumphs and, struggles in my early years, right? And
Yeah.
even just thinking about, like I said, being a part of the newspaper club and just all the track that God had me on,
Right.
being like sidetracked by
Yeah.
those relationships, being sidetracked just by people that were not for me at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's like, now I feel like I'm getting to what he's called me to do, but
His
it could have
purpose.
been much
Yeah.
sooner. Yeah.
Listen, you preaching. I
Mhm.
have been there before. It's like I ran so long from what the Lord wanted me to do. And then once I finally stopped running and I saw how good it was, how I didn't miss nothing like I thought I was going
Yeah.
to. Like I thought I was going to miss out on something, like it wasn't going to feel quite right. And,
Hmm.
and then once I finally yielded and said yes, then I was like, what took me so long? Like,
Think we're
what was
missing
I
out on
thinking?
something, I
Yeah.
need something more than, filling a blank, more basically more than God, but
Yeah.
at the time not really knowing us, for me, that's what I needed. And so it's just running around trying to fill a void and full of rejection and just so much that he had to really deal with, and
Oh, you speaking my language. I've been there. You and I have had the pleasure of being able to bear our testimonies to one another and share, some inside details. And I always say, part of my therapy, uh, well, part of my healing. Let me reverse it. Part of my healing was the therapy of writing. Would you say that that was true for you as well? Do
I
you
would.
feel like it helped you to heal more when you began to write?
Yes, yes. And I remember sharing it with someone before, and he gave me the word. He said it's a catharsis, I think, where you're able to release, through writing. And I
Mhm.
can definitely see that because it's like, I feel like, I'm able to write, I'm able to express how I feel,
Yeah.
release
Yeah.
that whatever's pent up. Because a lot of times you don't know what's pent up in you until you write it out on paper. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely been like a release for me.
Well, tell us, what is your next step or like your overall goal for the books that you're producing? And what would you like for them to, what kind of effect would you like for them to have in the community?
That's a good question. So the next steps that I have for my books is I'm building out my online bookstore,
Okay.
rempublish.com. And there, I have some of the books that I've written, of course, some that I've co-authored. And my overall goal is to actually begin to work with local organizations or, national organizations, right? For
Yeah.
example, I have a children's book that I want to begin to actually pitch towards, vacation Bible schools and
Yeah.
for churches, right? And so I want to actually go not just, one by one with
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
but I have like a bigger goal in mind, and that's to actually target larger audiences, being able to let them know about the writing, right, that's in the books, and being able to get before them and
Mm-hmm.
present to them, just the things that God has shown me so that I
Mm-hmm.
can see groups and masses of people set free. So when it comes to the books, that's my overall goal, is to write books that will encourage and will inspire, motivate, but also deliver, and being able to find those large target audiences, that I can deliver those messages to.
Yes, and I'm sure with you being in marketing, you have a game plan together on how you're going to get those books into the hands of those companies and those organizations.
Mhm.
Yeah, branding is very crucial for authors. I mean, you know, it's and I know for myself, before I came into the whole knowledge of branding, one day my brand was pink, then the next it was teal blue, then it was purple. It was just, it was all over the place. And I actually, had to sit down and just gather myself and think, okay, now I can't keep changing up my colors,
Mhm.
How crucial was that for you with working on your brand? What did that look like for you? Did you kind of figure that out early in the game, or did it take you a little while to get your branding together?
That's a good question. It took me a little while to get it together because I was like kind of studying other authors, right? I
Mm-hmm.
had two ladies early on that helped me a lot. And so with my IT background, I knew that I had a love for like graphic design, right? So
Mm-hmm.
creating like a aesthetically appealing flyer or a banner, right? And so I liked doing that. And initially looking at my brand, I was like, it wasn't quite sticking out. And so I had to go through the same thing, as you stated, choosing my color palette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
my down to my fonts, making sure that, okay, anything that I put on my author branding page is this particular color, this style, so that anyone, whether they're scrolling on the internet or wherever they are, they can
Right.
identify, who I am by
That's
my
right.
posts. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
almost wanting to build that familiarity with my
Yeah.
audience where they can say, okay, I know this particular product or this post is from Tanicia because it matches her brand, it matches her brand elements, right? And so that
Yeah.
has grown very important to me, to the point where I think that's why it has, recently I am working on making a pivot with helping nonprofits. I love
Yeah.
storytelling, right? And I love branding. And so I began to really pray about it. And, God began to show me. I have been already working with a few nonprofits, helping them with social media management, right?
Right.
And email management, different things like that. So I began to really say, okay, that's what I like, and kind of just
Yeah.
niching down to that target audience. If you are a nonprofit, is your brand elements, together,
Right.
your email marketing, because when it comes to like something like it's a little bit different for an author, but when it
Right.
comes to a nonprofit, you're telling that same story. And
Right.
then you're just telling it over and over again, right? With
Yeah.
their vision and their mission. And then, of course, you have different things that that particular nonprofit may have done in a community. You can highlight that. And all that to me ties into the brand, and it ties into, brand identity, being able to identify that particular brand of that person, or that organization.
Right. Well, I definitely want to let it be known, Miss Tanisha helped me tremendously. I've got about 4 or 5 different things going on, and I had them all over the place. And Miss Tanisha helped me to be able to bring them, to where they were individualized, my nonprofit and my author brand. and she created beautiful, beautiful pink, accents. And I really love, what she's done for me as far as creating my separate author profile. And that really set it out because it's soft, it's pink. And she took one picture, and at the time, my assistant Amaya was like, "I'm tired of that picture." You know what picture I'm talking about, right? Amaya was like, "If you put that picture on anything else." But Tanicia took that picture and customized that beautiful pink, outfit and everything, and it was wonderful. If you look at my author page, author Stephanie M. Seaton, you will see a lot of the work that Tanicia has done, and just really set my page, apart from my nonprofit. And then I finally have a personal page where I can do some things as well. So if you are looking for somebody that can help you with your media and help you with your branding, definitely hit her up. She's a busy woman, but she'll be able to help you to kind of get yourself together where you can definitely, especially if you have multiple brands and you need to be able to make those, definitive. So thank you. And yes, my newsletter and several other things, other services that she was speaking about. My thing was, it's so much. It is so much to it, and it's kind of like 1,000 things that need to get done. And like with me still working full time in dental, it's like, when am I going to get this stuff done?
Right. Yeah.
So you really gave me, really good insight and ideas and some tools and things like that. And I'm sure you're already teaching workshops on this, right?
I have, but I am going to. So the last workshop or webinar I had, I think was in February or March. That was about my other love, administration, just IT and project administration in business. But I am going to start teaching workshops on these because like you said, it's audience segmentation, and that's really what it is. So it's like, I always think to myself, like, I have my personal Facebook and then I have my author Facebook, but utilizing the tools that we have to schedule out posts and different things like that, because it becomes a lot and overwhelming. So I definitely do want to teach some classes, and I wonder if that would be like an interest, for people, so they can learn more. Yeah,
I think it definitely would be, because for me, I was so overwhelmed. When I originally came to you for help, I was so overwhelmed. I'm sitting here like, I have all this stuff that needs to be done. And then some of it, I didn't know how to do it either, So I think it would be an amazing workshop, because there's a lot of people that want to take things to the next level. But honestly, Tanicia, they don't know what to do.
Okay.
So you turned me on to some things I hadn't even thought about. I was so focused on just doing some posts that I wasn't even thinking about ads and some of the things that I'm doing now. So I definitely think you would be onto something to teach those workshops, to be able to help people get in a better place, especially creatives that really want to take it to the next level. I think during the workshop would be an amazing opportunity. Let me read a little bit of your bio, ma'am.
Okay.
So Miss Tanicia is a faith-based author, writer, publisher, and blogger, and has an amazing heart for storytelling. Uses her writing to inspire, educate, uplift, incorporating biblical principles into her books, blogs, and studies. You can see all of her books on all major platforms. She recently just published a children's devotional that she was talking about, and I purchased one for my son. And he's actually now starting to, he used to read a lot. And then he went through this nothing but electronics, and so he's kind of turning back, I think in the last week or two. He's been getting his devotional reading a little bit before bed without me saying it. So that's good when they start doing it without you saying it.
I haven't gotten there yet. I have to say it,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about Remnant Media Services that you offer.
So with Remnant Media Services is definitely going into, initially when I started, I said, oh, I'm just the servicing company to help people publish their works, and then that's when I found out that, oh, wait, I like digital marketing. And that's really more the services that I'm offering. I have right now, I have my little website page up, but I just want to just name a few of the services that I'm kind of going into offering with the Remnant Media. So of course, digital marketing, digital media services, which is, like we said, email marketing, even if it's not necessarily where our company would do the work, but I can train people right on how to do it. And so my thinking has been to provide more courses, providing courses about digital marketing, and all things, just even, advertising. Another thing that I'm currently studying and working on is grant readiness. So, you have a lot of nonprofit organizations. I'm going to eventually look at it, of course, for profits, but starting with nonprofits that would like to apply for grants. But then that's just that administration piece, that project management needs to be in place, making sure that they have all the proper documents and everything in a secure location so you can easily apply to your grants. So we still offer publishing support, but again, I'm actually gearing it towards more like organizational materials. So, for example, I have one nonprofit that I'm working with right now. They are preparing for 2 fundraising events, a women's tea and a debutante ball. So my job there is working with them with the marketing and PR, all those organizational materials, from brochures to, the email marketing to flyers, save the dates. So really providing those materials, for organizations so that you can really go forward and fundraise and do, what's needed. And then a few more that we're doing is, storytelling and communications. Again, when you think about my love, nonprofits, you have to be able to tell the story of what you do and communicate it effectively, right? So that you can reach those proper donors and sponsors and, funders. So kind of bringing it in that place, it's only a few pillars, but they all actually fall under that digital marketing piece. And I think it can really benefit a lot of organizations once we have, those proper systems, courses, and training in place.
Yeah. Sounds good. I really enjoy, just listening to you because it's very informative. I know that you know what you're talking about. I have listened to people and I'm just like, what? Yeah, but I know that you know what you're actually talking about, and you're passionate about it. And I think that's what makes a difference, is when you know that somebody's actually passionate about what they're doing. So Tanicia's mission is to empower clients to use storytelling confidently. And you're right, with nonprofits, there's definitely a story, and that is what gets people to buy in, and ultimately want to be a part, or contribute to nonprofits in that way. Would you agree with that?
I really do. And then, what I've been thinking about as I talk to some nonprofits, right, or the organizations, having an effective communication plan. I'm starting to go back to what I learned in school: the who, what, when, where, and why, right? So who is your target audience? What message are you trying to convey to them, right? Through the organization, what are you asking them to do, and why are you asking them to do it? And I think once we kind of package that, that type of communication plan for any organization, it almost positions you to, retain that target audience. Then I think it also separates your supporters, because you may have some supporters that say, I want to come and volunteer. They're hands-on. And then you have someone else that say, I just want to donate, on a recurring basis. So you want to make sure you have a system in place for that. So it's like you said, positioning, messaging, and just that storytelling. and showing them. A lot of people are visual. So if you have a nonprofit or something like that, they want to know, okay, well, what are you doing? That's where digital marketing comes in. You take a picture of, and it's not that you're doing it for the show, but it is, a part of it, of that communication plan, I would say.
Yeah, when you start talking about getting donations, grants, loans, they want to know what you're going to do with the money.
That's right.
That's the reality. I just went through the process of getting a business loan, and it was a lot of questions, but you know what? That's part of it. So what does that tell me? That tells me that you have to have a real plan. You have to put a business plan together. You have to have a real vision. But it is possible to get the funds, to be able to do the things that you need to do. But you need to take it seriously and have a real business plan and real black and white on what you're going to be doing. So
that's really good. And you got the business loan through your, like, a nonprofit?
Yes.
Through
another nonprofit, but they're a nonprofit that does lending with funds that they acquire, and then they turn around and loan it back out.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, that's a blessing. Yeah,
that is. Yeah. Wow.
So tell me, what part did faith? Let me not say what part did it play, but when did faith enter into the scene for you? What did that look like for you?
Oh, that was. I felt like I tell people I was coming in fresh off the boat. 2013. And I had done everything probably under the earth, like the chief
coming in hot.
I came in hot. I'm like the chief sinner, like the Apostle Paul said. So when I came in, I'm like, I got born again, in 2013, and it was just like something ripped off of my eyes, because growing up, I always say, I'm a Christian. And of course, you go to church and all those different things. But, when you're born again, you truly surrender your life over to Jesus Christ. That's a different thing, because you can't move how you want to, those desires, some desires just begin to fall off. And then I just remember saying, okay. And so I still say this to this day, because when I talk to some people, I'm like, listen, it's been, a little bit over 10 years, and I've been growing ever since then. I haven't reverted back, and I don't want to, because I know where I came from. And, when I say coming in hot, I mean, everything that you probably think of, I've done it. And so when I talk to younger people now that are getting saved or just got saved, and the things they've been through, and it's just, I said, I don't have a coldness. They probably think that, but it's like, I'm not moved by what you've been through, like I'm not turned away. Yeah. Because I can relate, and so that's how I came in, and it's just been a fervor ever since then, because I was mad. I tell you, I was mad at the devil, at everything that I had gone through, and that he had deceived me through, and that, he put down in me. As I go back to talk about those viruses, like from my book, God Slush Your Network, all of those viruses, I'm like, you put all that in me, through words, through wrong connections, wrong relationships. And I mean, I just, it's still, for me, I have a vendetta against him.
Yeah. Well, I get it. I'm still visualizing the way that you put that, those viruses, those viruses, those we all, have been through some of those things, and some people are still in them. But, just like Tanicia just said, what happened to her when she came into the realization. And for me, it was 3 years ago. Like I said, I've been in church all my life. I'm going to be 50 years old this year.
Oh, really? Look good, Stephanie.
Girl, I'll be 50 in July. In July, I'll be 50.
Good. Oh, you got to have a birthday party. Look at me. I'm saying.
Hey, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it, but you know what? It's not going to be too big, because I got all these conferences. I'm deep in ministry. We got that men's conference July the 19th. Men hurt too. Then we're doing a mental health in October, and I just sent out an invitation for this Christmas ball. So, and listen, I'm excited about this Christmas ball. Last year, you were there. You were a partner with the vision on last year. And of course, last year we partnered and it was more of a children's feature.
Mhm.
With my dear son, Arthur Isaiah C. Haggerty. It was kind of all centered around him. But I'm excited that this year it's going to be an adult, formal, and we get to put on some clothes.
I'm excited about that.
Listen, we get
And
to
the
put on some clothes.
location too looks very nice too.
Yes, listen, Mr. Joseph Roberts, who is my brother,
Mhm.
my friend, and my board member, he showed me that spot, and I was like, I have never seen that in Dallas. Did you know that place existed?
No, no,
It
not
was
until.
the Thompson's bookstore. I mean, just tucked away, and they've got all these different levels with different themes on each level. And
Mhm.
when I went and saw that, I was like, oh, that is the perfect spot. That's
Yes,
perfect.
yeah.
And so, yeah, the colors are black and gold, and people have already started to RSVP, and I'm like, wow, this is exciting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to for it to be a formal kind of like takes you back to school
That's
when we
right.
used to have like dances at school and stuff.
Mhm.
I haven't, I've never thrown a formal before. Seriously, I've never thrown any type of formal.
Oh, it's gonna be nice.
Yeah, so I mean, outside of a wedding, but I don't think that counts. It's a
Right.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
excited. We're gonna be cute. We're gonna take
Yeah.
pictures.
I'm like, I'm here. When I saw it, see, that piqued
Yeah,
my interest. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
We get to be grown ups.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It's gonna
So
be
I
fun.
know I know you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
do.
So listen, when you have small children, we love them, Lord, we love them. But most often, you're not really, you're always in mom mode. And
Right.
so when you get to actually be Stephanie and Tanisha, that's a
Mhm.
really good experience every once in a while to be able to be yourself.
That's
Listen, before we get out of here, I want you to just kind of tell all the people that are listening, if they are thinking about writing, Tanisha, and they don't know where to start, what would your advice be?
I would say just start.
Yeah,
You know, just start. And I know that sounds cliche. A lot of
yeah,
people think that it sounds cliche, but it's the truth.
yeah.
Just start. And just like we mentioned earlier, any device that you have. I mean, I think what you said about the dictation right into your
Mhm.
app on your
Yeah,
phone is really good. If you're someone that just prefers to write in a notebook like I do,
yeah,
or however, right? But just start. And I always say break everything into like bite-sized chunks, so do it
okay,
a little bit, at a time, as
right,
opposed to trying to get it all down at once. I think
yeah,
that's where the brain fog comes in. But, taking time, maybe stepping away for a day or two, come back,
yeah,
but don't
mhm,
quit. Keep going,
yeah,
and just start. Just start.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, just kind of like the Nike phrase, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
You've got to get started. In order to finish, you've got to get started. If you never get started, you cannot
You
finish, right?
cannot. That's right.
So,
That's
yeah.
true.
Let me ask you something. I've got three words, and you know what those three words are. But I've got three words, and I want you to think about these words and tell me which one stands out the most for you. So we've got healing, empowerment, transformation. Tell us which one stands out the most to you and tell us why.
Transformation.
Mm,
Transformation. I just helped one of the authors and pastors and ministers and everything. He does a lot, but he
yeah.
wrote a book called The Process. And on the front of it, he
Ooh.
had, it's a
Wow.
picture of a butterfly, and it
Mm,
shows a butterfly going through different stages.
mm,
And that book really touched me because I said it's all about transformation.
yeah.
And transformation, in a sense, like, when I thought about that process, is how it shows the image of a caterpillar going through its various stages, but then you become this beautiful butterfly.
Yeah.
Now you're airborne, right? And you're not on the ground like the caterpillar, but you're able
Yeah.
to fly and you're flying high. And
Yeah.
that, like, to me, is what really stands out to me. And so that's why I chose the word transformation, just becoming that beautiful butterfly and being able to get those wings and fly, be airborne.
It's funny that you said, I had no idea you were going to say anything about a butterfly. You know this, right?
Right.
I'm going to put this up here. So I'm working on my memoir. I'm not sure if we talked about this, but I'm working on my memoir, and that is the exact thought process. This is my book cover. Look at that butterfly.
I see it. Yeah, I did see that. That butterfly. Yeah.
That was the exact thought process. Is I thought about myself going through different stages. I thought about, this over here, and mine was more from a perspective of traumas and disappointments and hurts and, the cocoon moment and the healing. I would say my cocoon moment was the healing process itself, just kind of being in isolation and then finally coming out transformed into the butterfly. But it took me so many stops and detours and routes, and so it's so funny you said that, seriously, because that's why I put the butterfly on the book, for that very reason that you're saying, that gentleman put the stages of the butterfly. Sometimes we look at the cocoon moment. I don't know if I'm saying that's right. But
no, you are. Yeah.
We look at that stage because that's where it's the process where it's tough. That's where we want to not go into the cocoon because we're scared. We're going, but if you don't listen, I just got a revelation. If you do not go into the cocoon moment, if you do not go through the cocoon process, you cannot become the butterfly.
That's right.
You have to go. You can't skip a step.
You can't skip the stage.
You can't cut it short. You can't, you can't do it. It's just not. But we all want to be butterflies, but you have to go through the step. You have to go through the process. Girl, we own this something with this butterfly.
Process. Now listen, I'm show you this right here. I don't know if you can see it. It may not be.
Caterpillars and butterflies.
That's in God's Celestial Network.
Yes, and you talked about it too. Yeah. So listen, the Lord is using these caterpillars and butterflies and cocoons. Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it is a process, and that is something else. Now you got me wanting to do more research.
You have to. Can I read a quick part here?
Yes.
Let me think about it. I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'm happy I had it.
I didn't
either. This part, because we were talking about prayer, but I said transformation is a metamorphosis that takes place when our minds are changed from one life type to another. A transformed mind is likened to a butterfly as opposed to a caterpillar, which represents a earthly mind. A caterpillar and a butterfly have the same beginning, like you said, so it all has the same beginning, but only through metamorphosis can a caterpillar become a butterfly. It is the same with us. When we are born, we are all born into sin and molded into iniquity. But everyone has the potential to be a butterfly because it's already inside of us. And that's written. This book. Yeah, that's amazing. So your memoir, would you to have it there? That's
Listen, we're gonna have to talk about this. We're gonna have to do something. I mean, I'm serious. We're gonna have to talk about something about some caterpillars and butterflies, and we have to break this down so people can understand so people cannot give up. Don't give up in the process. That's what it's. We need to be able to encourage people. Don't give up in the process.
That's
really in the process. And I'm visualizing right now when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it's no way he's gonna come back out a caterpillar.
That's right.
Listen, we are guaranteed to come out butterflies.
That's right.
Guaranteed.
That's right.
He died on the cross. He already set the rules and regulations. But when the enemy comes in and distracts us and makes us think something else is going to happen in the cocoon, or it's going to derail the blessings of God, or something else. But if we stay focused, every caterpillar goes into a cocoon, and every caterpillar comes out a butterfly.
That's right.
My God, these butterflies.
That's the process. Yeah. It's the process. Wow.
Yeah. That's a good one right there. Hey, we're gonna talk. I see something coming on. But listen, we're gonna get ready to get out of here. I have definitely enjoyed interviewing you. Of course, I always like talking to you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you have coming up next? I'm going to put your website up here also. Put your website on here. So www.rempublish.com.
Yes.
No matter what time you watch this interview, you can look in the comment section and click on the link where you can see what Tanicia has going on. How else can people get in touch with you, Tanicia?
The easiest way is through my email. It's info at 10. Well, I get my info@rempublish.com. So just like the website you put up, it's just info at REM publish, publish.com. And that's how they can get in touch with me and find out more. And I think that's the easiest way. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for
No
being
problem.
here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
This has been an amazing conversation again tonight. This has been an amazing conversation with author, publisher, storyteller, just an amazing woman of God, Miss Tanicia. And make sure that you follow her on all of her social media sites as well. Stay tuned to what she's got coming up. Listen, I'm going to drop this. If you have not registered, first of all, let me say this before I go into the men's conference. We had an amazing time on Saturday at the Hiding Behind the Lipstick conference. I'm still just in awe. I'm still just in awe. It was an amazing conference. It was an amazing atmosphere. Just knowing that, the thing about a conference when you're running it is you're thinking about 20,000 things. But when you finally get to the point that you realize, and in that moment you can let everything go. The only thing that mattered was those people that came to the altar, those people that asked for prayer, and those people that went forward and talked about how they needed to be in that room, how they thought they were there. They were supposed to be there to be a vendor, but how they felt refreshed. And when you hear that and you see that, it's like, okay, thank you, Lord, that you used me. It's pretty much all you can think, because we definitely want to be used of the Lord. So, oh my, just, it was amazing. We had the saxophonists, the pictures, the decorators. I'm just so grateful. Let me just say again, I know I've said it so many times. I've made so many posts, Tanisha, but everybody that played a part in the Hiding Behind the Lipstick conference, thank you so much for making the vision come forward. It was amazing. And we're going to be doing it again. My organizations, and I know I've talked to you about Roa Fatah, but Roa Fatah, I am the East Texas president of Roa Fatah, and then my nonprofit, Healing Empowerment Transformation Diamonds in the Rough, are actually the planning committee behind the scenes. And we are about to do another conference for men, and it's called Men Hurt Too. And our very own Joseph Roberts is going to be leading that conference, and we have a keynote speaker coming in from Michigan, Dr. Marvin Cotton. And I'm sure you've kind of seen Dr. Marvin Cotton spent 20 years, Tanisha, in prison, and then was exonerated. He spent 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Went in as a teenager and was not able to read, not able to write, any of those things. But in prison, the Lord gave him a picture of himself on the outside, and that's what he held on to for 20 years. He said he was getting out, he just didn't know when, because the Lord had shown him that, and that's what he held on to. So he came out with a mission: better, not broken. And he's helping other men that are exonerees. I mean, think about it. Even in today's society, Tanisha, that could have went left. He could have came out so mad, so angry, and just done so many things differently, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, mentally, yes.
He talks about how he knows the Lord used that time to help prepare him, because he learned how to read, he learned how to write, he got educated, and then he came back and is now partnering, has created organizations that help other people. And when I heard about him and then, had the pleasure of interviewing him and everything, I was just in awe. I was just like, wow. So he's actually the keynote speaker. We have several other men that are going to be speaking. GF Soldier Hilton is going to be doing his portrait. Have you heard Hilton do his portrait before?
I haven't. No, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh, listen, he's got this poem. I say spoken word. Let me say spoken word, but he's got this
Mm-hmm.
one called Jesus. Oh
Mm.
my! And he says Jesus, magnificent, and he's like fast with it, and you just
Yeah.
Jesus. Wow, listen.
Let's look him up. That's the name of
Yes,
the poem.
and
Jesus.
Jesus, but yeah, he's got a lot of them. But that is one of my favorites that I've heard him do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Mr. T.C. Alexander, which is of Bank of Texas. He is
Mm.
going to be there speaking on finances. And so it's just going to be amazing. We've got those 4 guys. They're going to all bring a different subject of how men might hurt in different areas. And it's just going to be amazing. So if you have not bought your ticket, and this is not limited to just men, just like the women's conference, we had
Mm.
several men in the room. There were men in the room.
Mm.
It's not, you as a woman, you may want to come to the conference just to see how men hurt, how they deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're having trouble in your marriage or a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But the tickets are available. There are also vendor spaces available if you want to be a vendor and be in the room and participate. But you must go to Eventbrite. Okay, so you
Okay.
must go to Eventbrite for vendors and also for tickets. I would love to see more youth in the room, especially with the conference for the men. I would
Okay.
love to see some young men in the
That would
room.
be good. Okay.
Yes. So Tanisha, stay right there for just a moment. I want to run this idea by you that I just came up with. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight for another edition. This has been an amazing edition of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. And join us again on Thursday night. Well, we will be back again Thursday night. I believe I actually have 2 interviews back to back. And so make sure that you tune in on Thursday night. We'll have 2 guests on Thursday night. So thank you. So, and Sunday is the men's podcast, My Brother's Keeper. And so we've got a lot of good things going on, but thank you so much. Have a good night.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.